Hey everybody, welcome back. January 13th, day 3 of the occupation. Todd Vandermide here, former NRA contract lobbyist, Illinois gun law guru, and I want to give you an update. Kind of took yesterday off from recording because I was wrapped up working with our lawyers on all this stuff. And so lots of things to unpack here. These are my notes for what to talk about today. I'm feeling a little bit better for all those guys that are sending me messages and whatever. Thank you very much. It's getting a little bit better. Things are in a state of absolute chaos and confusion for dealers in this state. The guidance that is being put out there down there is contradictory. It's messy, and this is the stuff that's coming from governmental agencies. The information put out by the chiefs of police isn't necessarily 100% accurate. The stuff the state police are putting down isn't 100% accurate. I mean, our own governmental entities in law enforcement don't understand this law. They don't understand how it interacts with things and are taking contradictory positions on some things that are allowed or what's not allowed. So we're going to continue to unpack this. Now, I'm not going to dive into a ton of details on parts of this because we're still formulating and finalizing the draft of the complaint that we are going to be putting forward and our legal strategy that goes along with all of that. So I will unpack something that people have been inquiring about. Yes, a previous version of this proposal exempted all 22 caliber rifles, or definitely rifles. There might have been some on the pistols, but as it is now, 22 caliber rifles and pistols are impacted by this law. Senator Don Harmon, in his speech on the floor, specifically referenced the Tech 22, that somehow that while the Tech 9 was covered by the proposal, that the Tech 22, a 22 caliber version of it, was not. Somebody found this egregious, and therefore that was part of the publicly announced decision that there were changes within the law. So the biggest thing that there is whether or not there are transfers between FFLs and all that. I'm not going to get into that today. We're still combing back and forth, and there are a lot of nuances within this bill. There just are. But there is a flat-out ban on all the new sales that were not papered, 4473, and called in for a background check prior to 6 o'clock the other night when the governor signed this. We've also there is a ban on parts. Now, there are two components to this, and people seem to forget this, but there was a ban on assault weapon attachments. Then there was a separate line item about combination of parts and what that looked like. And I will tell you that in my interpretation of it, it's every part that goes into an AR and AK or anything like that. We're not sure how far it's going to go into some of the handgun stuff because handguns with threaded barrels are now verboten. And if you have a Glock 19 and, does the trigger count in going to making it towards something, but if you're building a frame or receiver that you currently had, that there would be a opportunity that when you put the top end on, you could put a threaded barrel in that. these are the vagaries and the nuances that are very, very difficult to parse out on. It took me over 8 hours to go through the magazine portion. That was 5 pages long. It took me over close to 16 hours to get through the gun portion. So, people are finding some unique workarounds. We'll see what that is. This, for all you government informants, state police types, and whatever, this is not a 30-round magazine for an AR-15. This is a 10-round magazine for a 458 SOCOM. How well that's going to hold up, I don't know, but it's 100% accurate. And those are things that people are going to be trying to do. And guys, I'm going to give you a word of caution out here. None of this is legal advice. But know this. The state police have been hiring more and more inspectors to police dealers. And don't forget that if you want to be a dealer in the state, you not only have to have a federal license, you have to have the state license. And the state can hook you up on any infraction that they so deem. And then, they're so new to this. You don't have a tried and true set of case laws that the ATF has with dealing with, FFLs. So be wary. Whatever the inspector says is going to be what's on the front line and what goes. I've already heard of, prior to the enactment of this law, some less than stellar interactions with those inspectors. One dealer was smart enough that when he was notified they would be coming in to drop by and check on things because of some information on how bad this inspector was, that his state representative just happened to be having a cup of coffee in the shop at the very same time. Made for an interesting exchange. With that, Attorney General Raul seems to be all up in his grill about wanting to take the AG's office into a new realm here and really wants to embark upon things. So, let me read this from Capital Facts News Source. Raul plans new front on guns. I'm asking our legislature to give me the power to go after those in the industry on behalf of the children we've abandoned. And Attorney General Kwame Raul, during this inaugural address, do not pass half measures and go home. They're not done with us. This was just the opening salvo, what they did to us this week. Get ready. It's going to get worse. But he didn't spell out what he wanted, so when I asked his spokesperson, that came from Rich Miller, Raul said he wants the legislature to amend Illinois Consumer Fraud and Deceptive Practices Act to make clear that the Attorney General's office can use the law to take enforcement action against rogue firearm dealers and manufacturers that knowingly engage in dangerous sales and marketing practices. Marketing, speech. For instance, marketing a JR-15 to minors. That's probably an AR clone. Can't sell it anymore, and you definitely couldn't sell it to anyone under the age of 18. Mr. Attorney General, specifically, we will seek to make clear that sales and marketing practices that are dangerous and harmful to the public, that encourage unlawful purchases by minors or encourage unlawful militia activity, are violations of the law for which our office can seek monetary and injunctive relief. The AG's office has been sexually used to hold the law, to hold tobacco industry predatory lenders and opioid manufacturers accountable for unlawful practices, including misleading marketing and advertising to targets minors. So, just like California, they're now going to try to come after gun shops, gun manufacturers. This is part of a multi-pronged approach. They want to bankrupt the industry. They want to open up so many fronts that they can't, that we just can't defend it all. They want to use every lever of government, every office they have, every regulatory function they can in order to undo the Second Amendment and what they don't like. And they're going to drag this out long enough because their plan from post-Heller has not changed. Post-Heller, when it was a 5-4, they were hoping one of the justices would croak. And when Scalia died, they were really hoping, now's our chance. We're going to get to reform the court. And Mitch McConnell, one of the few acts I really liked with him was that he held open the Merrick Garland nomination, and President Trump was allowed to appoint him or fill that vacancy by appointing Gorsuch, and then came Kavanaugh, and then came Amy Coney Barrett. And we now have, for all practical purposes, a 6-3 court. So with that, and mind you, the Supreme Court this week issued a denial of emergency order for the New York carry law, the new carry law that's being challenged. But Alito and Thomas specifically warned the 2nd District about continuing to invoke stays without reason or explanation, and that they have their eyes on other cases that are filtering up through the court system. That was a clear shot across the bow for the lower courts. We'll see if they take the hint. Along with that, the other night, my last video, we talked about a number of sheriffs, a couple of dozen sheriffs that have put out statements, letters, otherwise saying that they were not going to be enforcing the new gun ban. So let's walk through parts of this. The new ban, sales parts, that stuff, sales of new magazines took effect immediately when the governor signed the law. The next part of the law takes place in 90 days when the restrictions on where you can take those firearms, where you can take those magazines and carry them, use them, and things like that come into play. And then 180 days out, the state police are supposed to have the registration system up and running. And then we have till January 1st to comply with their law. The sheriffs, and here's this map that we now have, Illinois looks awful red in that map. And we've got state's attorneys chiming in, and this is exactly what I said in committee. How are you going to enforce this? There ain't enough state troopers out there. What are they going to do? Start sending the Secretary of State police out there? The interstate commerce police they have? I don't know how they're going to do this. But now everybody's wondering about litigation, lawsuits. So let's walk down this chain just a little bit. They were changing this bill up until Monday. And you're talking a 111-page bill that is overly complicated. It even made my head swim and hurt, and just the back and forth and what they've done with this. We have now a published report as to how this all came about, and the lawyers for every town and other anti-gun groups were in the wings, either figuratively or literally, drafting components of this bill. They were sitting there and they were offering language up according to a published report, and that'll be a separate video. But with that, the timing is this. There are multiple groups working on litigation. Not privy to all the strategies, but the coalition that I am working with is a group that involves the gun dealers known as FFL Illinois, the Aurora Sportsmen's Club, Gun Save Life, our three principals in it. Our fundraising is doing good. It's not at that premier level that I would like to see, but we are raising the funds and we have enough to get us through the filing. We're looking at this stuff could run $450,000, $500,000 through the appeal process. Remember, a singular handgun ban for the city of Chicago, the NRA's fees in that case were $1.2 million, and that was just a handgun ban. So we think we're going to be in court very soon. Monday is a holiday. But unpacking this stuff and figuring out the right pieces to put in what lawsuit makes all the difference. And then we have to line our plaintiffs up with all of that and get all that going. And, we've got plaintiffs. We've got people that are volunteering left and right, but we have to fit a certain mold on things. There are certain boxes we have to check to make this go on. So for funding, the three groups that I am working with right now is the Second Amendment Law Center, headed up by Chuck Michelle, the guys that won the Duncan case, the guys that are in the Rhodey case. These are stout warriors from California who've got, over 2 decades of experience, being in the trenches on this. I'm working with my gun club, Aurora Sportsmen's Club. There's a donation link up on their page. There is the FFL of Illinois. They have a donation link on their page to help support your local gun dealer. Big help with that. In the Second Amendment Law Center link that we will have below, there will be a box you can check to make sure all your dollars are steered towards Illinois litigation. And so, please. Next week is going to be a little different. I will be out at SHOT Show next week working on the litigation angle amongst a few other things. And so some of my posting might be a little sparse. I'm going to have to figure out how to do it mobily. I'm not great at this stuff. It's taken me this long to figure out my computer. But those are some of the highlights of what's going on. We'll have some more in-depth reporting. Still have a pile of reporting to do on the Attorney General's filing in the Gun Save Life challenge to the Illinois forward card. That brief filed by our Attorney General's office has about 5 videos for me to make. It is chock full of stuff. So with that, guys, always please subscribe, hit the notification bell, copy and paste this link to the social media groups that you participate in. We really appreciate it. We're heading towards 5,000 subscribers. After that, we're going to aim for 10,000, keep growing on from there. And as always, we really appreciate your concerns, your support. Put your questions down below, and we'll try to do a Q&A session as soon as we get enough of them that make sense. Appreciate everything. And as always, guys, frag out.